Welcome to the Keystone Kindergarten video for Neltharus, a new Mythic Plus dungeon for Season 2 of Dragonflight. I'm Frank, and I'm going to take you through every mob and every boss in this dungeon to ensure you have everything you need to be successful in Neltharus. In our first pull, you will encounter some Kalashi Wardens. Tanks should think of mitigation when Blazing Slash is cast on you, as it can hurt on higher keys. Everyone should avoid the frontal cast of Volcanic Guard. It's a slow cast time, so plenty of time to react. Kalashi Spine Crushers cast something called Brutal Strike. This is a somewhat impactful hit that may knock you back. However, this seems to have been removed in the PDR 48-480 build, so it may no longer be relevant. Our main target to keep an eye on is Kalashi Thaumaturges. They cast Magma Conflagration, which will target a random player and channel some damage onto them. This is interruptible via stuns and the like. But their riskier concern is that they cast Molten Core, which must be interrupted. What Molten Core will do is turn Ore Elementals, who for the most part are just cleave fodder, into Molten Elementals. Molten Elementals will be given the spell of Molten Core, which will continuously cast every 3 seconds, each time applying an additional stack of Molten Vulnerability. This will stack the damage of Molten Core by 25% per stack, which can get out of hand very quickly if not dealt with, so do not let the initial Molten Core get off. And finally, before hitting the first boss, you also see a handful of Kalashi Plunderers. They will lob an explosive concoction on the floor, so look out for the orange swirl and avoid it. After climbing a set of stairs, you will see a minor RP that shows Magmatusk being created. There's a key mechanic for this fight that acts as an enrage. The boss will start with 2 Magma Tentacles, and for every 100 energy Magmatusk gains, it will cast Volatile Mutation and gain an additional tentacle. Magma Tentacles buff 3 other spells for each tentacle the boss has, so the higher the stacks, the more likely the party will not keep up. Tanks should avoid positioning Magmatusk in lava, as he stands in it he will get a 50% damage increase buff. Healers should be prepared for each cast of Magma Eruption, which will be triggered by a Volatile Mutation. Every tentacle the boss has will increase the dot left by this cast for an additional 5 seconds, so save defensives for this if this fight is dragging on too long. Tanks should be aware of positioning for Magmatusk for Blazing Charge. He will choose a random wall and charge directly into it, leaving liquid hot magma in his wake, but also spawning a lava wave for every tentacle he currently has. Everyone should be careful to charge back in too quickly, as they may run right into a lava wave as they do so. All players should be prepared to move away from friends when lava spray is cast on someone in the party. This will follow the player, so spatial awareness is needed by all players. For every stack of Magma Tentacle the boss has, the damage of lava spray will be increased by 100%. Otherwise, the room will continue to fill up with liquid hot magma, as the boss will also throw a magma lob at a player, making the fight harder the longer it goes. Once Magmatusk is down, you can jump off the ledge back down to the path to continue to the next boss. Once you cross over the middle area, you'll begin pulling Tamed Phoenixes, who will just randomly cast Ember Reach. These by themselves are not dangerous, but should several Phoenixes decide to cast on a single target, it could prove deadly. Kalashi Hunters will randomly charge a player with Bold Ambush, which will leave a bleed. They can also cast Binding Spear, which is a very small swirl on the ground that, when the cast finishes, will impale anyone in it with a spear, stunning them until it's destroyed. You will find a mini-boss, Overseer Lahar, early in this area. The first of his spells, Burning Roar, is an interruptible spell that will knock back and deal damage to anyone inside the circle. Eruptive Crush will smash the tank and spawn mini-swirls on the floor to be dodged. He will also hit the tank with Imbued Magma, which will hit hard but also leave a dot that needs to be dispelled. After Lahar, you'll begin seeing Kalashi trainees who have a frontal cone called Magma Fist. Tanks point these mobs away and step out when they begin casting. Trainees will also enrage through Fired Up, which can be soothed off. Kalashi Bone Tenders like to remain stationary, which means tanks should gather things up on top of them. They'll bone toss a random player, which can deal some decent damage, but also keep an eye out for Mending Clay, which is a 12-second heal over time. Just interrupt it as it doesn't cast often. You'll soon arrive at the second boss, Chargath, Bane of Scales. The main mechanic to prepare for in this fight is Fiery Focus, where at 100 energy, Chargath will fixate on the tank and start unleashing magma AoE that needs to be stopped as quickly and safely as possible. To do that, before he hits its energy cap, he'll cast Grounding Spear on 3 party members. A chain will attach to these 3 players, and the goal is to trip the boss over all 3 chains to stun him with Fetter. Each time he is tripped, he'll cast Slag Eruption on everyone in the party, a 4-second dot that can be stacked. Tanks should walk the boss through a chain every 4 seconds to ensure the dot doesn't become unmanageable, and on the 3rd chain breaking, he'll be stunned for 12 seconds, taking 50% increased damage. Aside from that, Chargath will Dragon Strike, much like Kalashi Hunters did, and cast Magma Wave, much like the Kalashi Trainers did. Killing Chargath will open the door to begin ascending upstairs, where you will continue to see some trainees, bone tenders, and hunters. Before heading up the stairs, cooks with a skill of 25 or higher will have access to Kalashi Goulash, which will give each player in the group 3 charges of a small out-of-combat heal, but also a 50-second, 65% move speed buff, making some of the travel time feel less painful. Atop the stairs, you will find Kalashi lava bearers, who will throw lava swirls at the floor, leaving puddles at impact, and also wherever the lava bearer walks. Lava flares will cast Melt, which can be interrupted to stop random damage going out on a player. Priority kick is found with Kalashi iron torches, which will attempt to put a large dot and possible explosion on a player through Mote of Combustion. They will also cast a frontal scorching breath that can be sidestepped. A high priority target, Kalashi Bone Splitters, have 2 deadly attacks. Pierce Marrow charges a player and hits fairly hard, and Dragonbone Axe will leave a heavy bleed on a target. Somewhere at the midpoint of these pulls, a large health mob, Iron Torch Commander, will cast Conflagrant Battery, throwing a large amount of swirls that the party should spread out and avoid layering on top of each other. They will also cast Scorching Fusillade, which everyone should spread out to avoid each other's circles. As you near the next boss, you'll begin seeing Kalashi Blacksmiths. They'll cast an AoE stomp named Forge Stomp that has a cast bar to warn you, and tanks should be prepared for a mitigation against Reverberating Slam, which will leave a nasty 9-second dot. One final patrol near our next boss is Forge Rot Monstrosity. He'll initiate Forge Rot Fury, which will test healers with a 2-second pulsing AoE. This should be prioritized down. Boss number 3 is Forgemaster Gorek. It's a simple fight on the surface, but it can test your healer and tank if not done correctly. Every so often, Gorek will leap into his anvil and begin casting Might of the Forge. As it channels, he will cast 3 successive blazing hammers that will strain healers with AoE across the group. Once he finishes this cast, he'll throw out the blazing Aegis that will target 3 players and cause swirls to branch out from their location. Spread out at the end of Might of the Forge, and this should give you enough space to negate this concern. Gorek will also periodically throw the hammer into the forge, causing Forge Storm, where random swirls will spawn throughout the room, and these swirls can be deadly. Finally, tanks should prepare for heated swings, where Gorek will swing you into the air and launch you back a small amount of distance. Once you land, he will charge to your location, and if you remain inside that circle when he lands, you will take enough damage to possibly kill you. Tanks, ensure you're not risking others' lives by accidentally pointing this at them. Rinse and repeat this process to take down Gorek and make your way to the final boss. Before moving on, blacksmiths out there with a trade skill of 25 or higher can loot the burning Aegis left behind by Gorek. When used, you'll hurl the shield at the mob, causing fire damage on the target and eruptions in 4 directions, much like how it worked in the boss fight. 2 new trash mobs will enter the fold in these last remaining pulls. Apex Blazewing will try and wreck the tank with Scalding Chomp, both hitting very hard and leaving a quick ticking dot. For the rest of the group, when Blazewings cast Condescent Tempest, the bird will damage and push back the party 3 times over the course of a couple seconds. Range can try to line of sight the damage, but everyone will still get pushed. And our final new mob is Kalashi Lavamancers, who will have a Lava Bolt filler, but where you most want to pay attention is when they cast Molten Barrier on themselves. This barrier prevents kicks, which is important because they'll go directly into casting Molten Army, attempting to add lava spawns into the pool. Burn the barrier and you'll be able to kick this off. And after a few trash pulls, you will finally arrive at Warlord Sargha's chamber. For the final boss of Neltharus, you'll want to look out for Dragon Kiln Cones. They can smack a player in any random direction. She will also throw a Burning Ember under a player, which leaves a burning patch, but it will also spawn a Raging Ember that will begin burning pursuit of that player, and you should kill this off immediately. Healers should be paying attention for the cast of Molten Gold on a random player that is a rough dot that lasts 18 seconds. And then at 100 energy, she'll begin forming a magma shield around her that is a large portion of health. Because of flame vulnerability building damage of flame eruption while the shield remains active, you must use the gold piles on the floor to pick up a magical device that can quickly destroy the shield. Pay attention to what you pick up, as some of these are area effect spells with a 12 or 30 yard range, while others are a direct attack. There should be some visual cues in case you don't immediately recognize what you have. 4 hits of these should destroy the shield, meaning everyone but the healer should grab a gold pile. And you do not need to wait until she casts Magma Shield to pick up the gold. They should be in the play area from the start of the pull and every time the shield is destroyed. And that's it. I'm Frank with the Mythic Dungeon League, and we hope this video helps you prepare for Season 2 of Dragonflight. We'll see you in the next one.